I forgot to mention a huge part before the video starts. So when you guys are shooting, make sure that the camera angle is good, because the camera angle can take your picture from like a 0 all the way to a 10. So make sure you're paying attention that your camera angles are really good and that you're adjusting your exposure. And in terms of exposure towards the end of the video, because I'm using natural light for my lighting through my window, it kind of fluctuates towards the end of the video, so don't mind that. But yeah, enjoy the video. Alrighty, what is up guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I edit my videos. How I edit my pictures on Instagram. The pictures that I took were literally in this spot and the spot behind my camera, so you guys will have a good understanding of how things look right now compared to how you can make an image look like completely just using your iPhone. So the apps that I use are Lightroom and VSCO. And I'm going to explain to you guys exactly why I use VSCO for certain pictures and why I use Lightroom for certain pictures. I'm going to try my best not to be like every other generic how I edit my Instagram pictures like video out there. So I chose 3 pictures that are, each of them are completely different. The first one is a really dark aesthetic, and then the next one is going to be like your typical normal photo, and the third one is going to be a really bright kind of overexposed picture, and I'm going to show you every detail of how I go through each and every like detail. Right, so open up VSCO and I'll import the pictures that I want. And then, so what I will do first is I would go into it and I would kind of just make sure I took these pictures on my iPhone 11, by the way, so that's why it's a longer picture than normal. So I'm editing this on my iPhone 7 Plus so I can film on my iPhone. But so first of all, I would go into VSCO and I would crop out anything that doesn't look good, and I'll try to straighten the picture. Right, straightening the photo is really important. Because if you have a picture that's kind of tilted, it's not aesthetically pleasing to the human eye. So after that is done, I would go into exposure. I usually start from left to right and make my way down. Anyway, so I'd go to exposure and I'll kind of mess around with it. So for this picture specifically, I'm not going to touch the exposure because it's already like low brightness. There's not that much light coming through. If I want to uplift anything, it'll only be like the shadows or the highlights, right? So I'd go into contrast. I'd move the contrast just a little bit to darken up the shadows and define my room or like the whole picture a bit. Go into sharpen, just to sharpen the image a little bit to add detail to my face. Go into saturation. Now for saturation, saturation is kind of like, it allows you to control the colors and how saturated you want the colors to be in your picture. For me, because I'm like a brown boy and I like looking tan, I'll bump up the saturation just a little bit like that, just also to give like the vibe. Because it is already a very dull picture, I'm trying to bring up the saturation to make it look a bit more lively. For highlights, so if you guys see the wall behind me, it is kind of overexposed. So to get rid of that, I'm using the highlights to kind of make it look more vintage and more moody. So I'm going to leave that around 8.4. Uplift the shadows a little bit, just like that. And you guys can already tell that there's a huge difference in the before and after. For white balance. Now white balance is what determines how yellow you want the picture, if it was like golden hour or blue for like blue hour in the morning. So you usually see a lot of photographers, they play around with this tool, mainly because if they're going for a shot, if they want to edit their picture, even though this picture was taken around maybe like 6 o'clock p.m., right? If you want to make it look like it was taken at 6 o'clock a.m., you can literally bump up the temperature to blue, the temperature more onto the blue side, and you can play along with this, right? So this is actually a pretty good look. Snap. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the temperature a bit to the blue side because kind of like the vibe. I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta mess around with the colors and see what you like. And then for this, I would go into tint. Tint is kind of the same thing, but it allows you to either go really green or really purple, depending on the undertones of the person. I'll leave that over there. Bam, bam. Skin tone. Now, skin tone is actually a really useful tool. I've never seen it in Lightroom or anything else. It allows you to play around with how tan you want the person to be. So if you look at my skin tone, I can decide whether I want to look really pale and like malnourished, or if I want to look sunburnt like this. So for all my brown people watching, if you struggle with this in your pictures, you can use this tool as a way to kind of bring out like your skin tone. I don't know if that makes sense, right? So I usually leave it around there, and these two pictures look completely different now. This literally looks like I came out of a newspaper, and then this looks more lively. You can see like the green's more my skin color, my skin tone is more. For grain, I don't necessarily use grain unless I'm going for like a Polaroid type of picture, and I'll probably show you guys that in another picture or another video. But for this picture specifically, I'm not going to add too much grain, maybe a little bit, just to add detail to the overall picture. And for fade, I'm not going to touch the fade, because fade is usually done for like other aesthetics where it's like really, really dark, like nighttime. At the most, I'd probably use like 0.1, or actually no, I'm not going to use any. And yeah, that's it for the first one. Now, this is important. I saved the picture on VSCO as a draft, and then I will copy the edits to save time, and I will paste them on the same pictures that have the same edits. Does that make sense? So like, I'll edit one picture and I'll paste the edits on the other pictures that have the similar shadows and stuff, right? So I can literally go into this, and it saves me so much time. All I have to do is crop it and straighten it out, because VSCO, they don't have that feature where it pastes the crop also. So I have to do that manually. But I actually like these pictures way better than the ones that I posted on Instagram. So you see, guys, there's no specific way that I edit my pictures. You kind of just have to understand the end result that you want, that you're going for. So before you edit any of your pictures, try to look at it raw and visualize what you want the end result to look like, right? If the end result looks like an aesthetic that you want to, if the end result is in your mind, then it'll be a lot easier to edit towards that specific aesthetic. Right? Keep saying, I'm filming! Thank you. Okay, so now for my next picture, which is like, it's not so lit and it's not so overexposed. This is probably like your casual, like indoor pictures that you don't really have to touch up much because it's pretty well lit and stuff. So what I'm basically going to start off doing is I'm going to align the picture. And if you guys have trouble aligning your pictures, like making it straight, try to like find something in the picture that's a straight line and then try to line it up with that. So in this case, the door frame behind me is straight, so I'm going to use that as a reference to how I'm going to straighten this picture, right? So this looks pretty good, right? And then yeah, so for this picture, I'm going to, my face is kind of, so remember how I told you guys, when you do edit your pictures, try to visualize how you want to look at the end. So for this, I don't really want to touch up too much on it, because everything is kind of clear and everything, except for this area right here. It's kind of like blurred out, not blurred out, it's kind of like dark. So I want to uplift that, and so this is going to be kind of minimal. So I'm going to put up the exposure, bump down the contrast to give me a more rugged look, bump up the sharpen, go to saturation because we go all over tan boy. White balance I'm going to keep maybe to 1, put this at 0.7, and then skin tone, that. So for this picture specifically, I didn't really do too much to it. I'm going to change the white balance a little bit because I don't like how blue I looked. There you go. So yeah, save as a draft, and then copy my edits, paste the edits. Alrighty, so that's what I'm done for VSCO. I'm gonna take these pictures, I'm gonna save them to my camera roll. Now for the pictures that are still left, these overexposed ones, I'm going to edit those in Lightroom because VSCO doesn't give you that much flexibility in terms of how you want to play around with the light and the shadows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Lightroom. Lightroom gives you way more flexibility in terms of how you want to affect the image. Alright, so now I'm in Lightroom. I'm going to do the same thing, the same steps. You're going to want to crop it out, everything. You're going to want to, this is actually pretty straight. I'm going to straighten it a little bit. And then do the same thing to the other picture. Lightroom is like, if you're familiar with VSCO, then you can graduate and go into Lightroom. But if you're not familiar with even VSCO, then I would recommend first starting off at VSCO, and then as you progress into like editing and stuff, then you can go into Lightroom, right? Alright, so for exposure, although this is like super exposed, I'm going to lower down the exposure and then bump up the contrast to, because my body is kind of blurred out, it's kind of faded out because of the window. So I'm going to increase the contrast. For highlights, you see how there's houses in the window? I don't want to lower the highlights because I want to give the illusion that my window is completely white, and I just want to use that as an example. So I'm going to kind of adjust the highlights until the house in the background disappears as much as possible, like that. For shadows, I'm going to leave the shadows a bit darker because I want the top half of my picture to be really exposed and the bottom half to be darker, so that it gives more of a dimension. Whites are cool too. So see, in VSCO you wouldn't be able to do all of that, and yeah, that's basically it. I don't want to dabble too much into the other things like temperature and stuff because I'm pretty happy with this. Maybe I'll go into like the color mix, but it's just gonna get you guys really confused, and this is like a video I just want to show you guys how I would edit these pictures, and I'm kind of satisfied with everything that's going on in this picture. So after that, I would do the same thing. I would copy my settings or copy your edit, and then I would paste it there, and yeah, after that I would add these and save it to my camera roll, and then you are done. So yeah, that's basically it for today's video. These are all the finished products. It's like super basic. So yeah guys, whenever you're shooting with iPhone, just make sure that always pay attention to how the light comes in to your pictures or anything. I don't use a self timer. The way I take my pictures is I'll record a video and I'll pose in my video, and then from that I'll take like a screenshot or something. That way it's easier for me to figure out the right angles or anything, you know, because while my phone is recording, I can see it, like the front facing camera, I can see how I look in the videos, right? So that's why everything that you guys seen on me online, it's all been taken by me, edited by me, because I don't trust anyone else that's not like a professional photographer who just doesn't know how to accentuate my physique or my angles or anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I encourage you guys, oh wait, I'm missing out a huge part. I used an app called Filmic Pro. I'll put it right up there. It's like $30. It's for video editing, and it's for photographers and videographers that want to get complete and manual control of their camera. Like the camera app on the normal iPhone is completely fine, but it doesn't give you the flexibility of white balance, and you can focus, if you wanted to focus on like the mirror and have your exposure like on this green corner, then you wouldn't be able to do that in the normal camera app. So although the camera app Filmic Pro is $30, it's still super worth it in terms of creating films and producing like high quality pictures and videos. So I use that app to record the video and then took screenshots, and then I just showed you guys earlier how to edit the video. But that is all for today's video. You guys are so kind with like sharing my videos and like spreading the love on my previous video, which was I think my religious journey or something. You guys absolutely love that video and you crushed like every aspect of it, and so many of you guys related to it. So I'm definitely going to be putting out more religious related content because a lot of you guys relate to that kind of stuff, and I want to provide value to your days, to your life and stuff. So thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, go out there, create, have fun, don't be afraid to make mistakes in terms of filming and stuff. You can literally use your iPhone. That's what I've been using for everything. And yeah, also stay safe with everything happening in the world right now. I know that the coronavirus is kind of fading away, but so for everyone that lives in big cities and big countries, please take precaution when it comes to like the protests and how everything is dealt. We're definitely living in a time where we're literally going through history and stuff, so just pray to God, and I wish you all the best. See you in the next video.